This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth, and do you guys remember back in 2021 when we started seeing articles like this? Remains of 215 children found buried at former BC residential school, First Nation says. Within hours, the news became international, with even the New York Times posting the headline, "Horrible History. Mass graves of Indigenous children reported in Canada." Shame, guilt, and outrage quickly swept across the entire nation, to the point that nearly 100 Catholic churches were burned to the ground. Statues were toppled and smashed. Canada Day events were cancelled. The Canadian flag was lowered to half-mast at Parliament Hill and all federal buildings across the country. The United Nations called on Canada to conduct an investigation. But in the following weeks, the term mass graves slowly but surely gave way to unmarked graves. And investigation after investigation continued to come up empty. No bodies found after spending $8 million searching for bodies at Kamloops Residential School. No evidence of human remains found beneath church at Pine Creek Residential School site. Investigation into potential unmarked graves on First Nations comes up empty, our CMP says. Investigators were unable to uncover evidence that showed a crime occurred related to what was detected at the site. The community is set to begin excavating the area underneath the Our Lady of Seven Sorrows Catholic Church on Monday. Mounties say if anything is located in the dig that may be related to criminal activity, officers will continue with the investigation. Anomalies have so far been detected, which have turned out to be rocks. Justin Trudeau took a photo op opportunity to kneel down literally to nothing. Just some empty space in a field while clutching onto a child's teddy bear. Even the specialist who used the ground-penetrating radar said that the findings are inconclusive until excavations are carried out. And now, folks, after all this time, the final report is in. And as it turns out, these children aren't missing. They just simply disappeared. Indigenous leaders praise report on Canada's disappeared residential school children. Kimberly Murray has opened an uncomfortable but long overdue conversation about justice for Canada's disappeared residential school children, Indigenous leaders say. While the report spans more than 1,000 pages, Murray's overreaching finding is that children who died and were buried at residential schools aren't missing, but were disappeared by the state. That makes them victims of enforced disappearance, a crime against humanity under international law. Nothing to see here, folks. It's just a case of enforced disappearance.
Children, I couldn't help monitoring your conversation. There's no mystery about Willie. Why, he simply disappeared. Now, let's have no more curiosity about this bizarre cover-up.
So in this video, we're going to break down this bizarre cover-up and get to the truth about truth and reconciliation. But just before we do, I'd ask that you check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate if you appreciate my efforts to bring you this info. Here you can do a one-time donation with PayPal. You can do Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies. You could sign up here for a monthly reoccurring contribution, or you can do so on Subscribestar as well by clicking here. You can send an e-transfer to dan@pressfortruth.ca, or if you like to keep things old school, guys, you can send stuff to my P.O. box. Links for all of this is located in the description below. Thank you so much to everybody who takes one moment today to contribute to my efforts here at Press for Truth. All right, folks, here it is, the final report. Sites of truth, sites of conscience, unmarked burials and mass graves of missing and disappeared Indigenous children in Canada. The final report of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada, TRC, provides indisputable historical evidence of genocide, crimes against humanity, and mass human rights violations in the Indian residential school system. The supposedly benevolent goal of assimilating Indigenous peoples into settler colonial Canadian society, proclaimed by government leaders, church officials, and bureaucrats for well over a century, masked a more sinister reality. Thousands of Indigenous children were subjected to violence, abuse, disease, and neglect in these institutions, and many of them died. Their death rates were far higher than those of non-Indigenous school-aged children. When they died, Government and church officials often did not return the children to their families and communities for burial. They were buried instead in cemeteries at the institutions, often in unmarked and mass graves that were sometimes dug by other children, with absolutely zero evidence or proof. And based on only one person's claims, they say that mass graves were dug by other children to try to paint a horrific picture and to really tug at the heartstrings. The primary purpose of this report is not to prove that these atrocities happened or that Canada is responsible. The TRC's comprehensive and definitive findings have already done so. The Commission also cautioned that the work to locate and recover and commemorate the missing and disappeared children and unmarked burials is incomplete. So in the same breath, they say that their definitive findings have found and proven these atrocities, while also saying that the work to actually locate any of these bodies is just incomplete.
There's no mystery about Willie. Why, he simply disappeared. Now, let's have no more curiosity about this bizarre cover-up.
If you do have questions about this, you could eventually be charged with denialism if Bill C-413 gets passed into law. As I reported on here, where are the bodies? The bill to criminalize denialism and the truth about Truth and Reconciliation. Today is Truth and Reconciliation Day, a federal statutory holiday established in 2021 to recognize survivors of Canada's residential school system where massive unmarked grave sites have been found. And if you dare suggest otherwise, you may soon be found criminally responsible for engaging in denialism. In this video, Dan Dicks of Press for Truth covers Bill C-413, an act to amend the criminal code to create an offense of willfully promoting hatred against Indigenous peoples by condoning, denying, downplaying, or justifying the Indian residential school system in Canada through statements communicated other than in private conversation. So you're not allowed to say anything about this that might counter the official narrative. And if you do, you may soon one day face charges. Meanwhile, after finding 0 bodies, they have shifted the goalpost from unmarked graves now to they just simply disappeared. It's absolutely insane, folks, and we have to call this out for what it is. A massive hoax.
There's no mystery about Willie. Why, he simply disappeared.
Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to support my work by checking me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Be sure to share this video, click that thumbs up button, and stay tuned, guys. We're gonna have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.